Yeah, so it's the same. Yeah, we don't need anything. All right, solid waste is now adjourned, and I call into order sewage. Yes, Mr. Hoffman, I call into order, and Mr. Hoffman, please. Roll call.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, roll call, pardon me, thank you.
Did I skip that one?
All right, so if I can please do the roll call for this meeting.
Commissioner Poston,
Here.
Commissioner Grant, here. Commissioner Woolsey, here. Commissioner Clifford, here.
All right, and so we've already done roll call, the status update on rehab.
We started the cleaning and TVing this week, or actually the 6th. This is, we're moving in the areas. They have the TV trucks here, they have the hydraulic cleaners, and this is the first phase of the process to go back and clean and re-TV everything before we start the lining. In this process, they'll actually measure the line, they'll measure the diameter of the pipe before they order the liner to be put into the ground. So this is the first phase. The next phase will be the actual installation of the liner into the pipeline. And then after that, it will be the follow-up TVing and cleaning to prove what they've done. So
Where is this project at?
everywhere,
All of it.
all over the island.
So as part of the SSES, we prioritize specific lines and manholes, so this is the 4th iteration of that. We're happy that we didn't see more letters from the material suppliers, that the contractor is going to be able to get the resin to be able to do the line. So that was kind of what we were waiting for.
And again, so the last time the piping was all replaced was early 80s, correct?
No, we were doing it last year.
No, I mean before, since I've been working with you, before that it was.
That's when they installed most of the lines back in
Yeah.
the early 80s.
Okay, that's what I remember, because that's one of the things people are complaining there. It's $9 more on their bill, and it's because it's piping.
Everything has a life expectancy. The lines that we have now are at the end of their life expectancy.
And this cured in place piping is good for like 50 years?
50 years.
Wow, that's pretty good. And I think if you want to see something interesting on YouTube, you can look up cured in place piping and see how it's done. It's very fascinating. And to me, it's a game changer for all utilities, water and wastewater. It actually saves a lot of money. Digging up pipe around here would be a nightmare for all of us. And to have these people just dig 1 or 2 little pits and go in there or go through them, they don't have to dig up them, they go through the manhole. And we do these pipes. It saves a lot of money. And like I say, and I understand like the iron pipe, even that iron rusts away, that put in place piping is still working, even though the old pipe is rusted away. But it's very fascinating to see how they do it, and how they clean out the pipe. And but do look it up on YouTube. There's a lot of companies that do this. And very fascinating. But really it saves a lot of traffic nightmares and everything else. They have to dig up the yard and place. But it has to be done. It's so old. So.
Well, that's one James Island to understand, because I mean the majority of it can be like 70% of James Island is going to be underwater in the next like 30 years. I mean, so we have the recommendation to not implement the pool adjustment.
So we got number 4, the Fort Johnson. We got to do number 4, Fort Johnson.
Oh, pardon me.
It's I got here. It is Philippines, but like
My eyeball. Sunglasses. Okay. So the, for Johnson, an inspection project,
Sure. So in your package, you have a 6-page document, the Memorandum of Agreement. And I got a whole education on, this is a reminder, I have a lot to learn for South Carolina law. So what you have in there, that Memorandum of Agreement is basically the district doesn't really have a choice. When the county dreams up a road improvement, we have to contribute towards the relocation of the line. Now, it used to be a lot worse. It used to be we were on the hook for the entire relocation cost, but in 2019, the law changed. And in 2019, what you have in there was June of 2019, kind of the South Carolina water quality. You have an explanation of the law change, and then you have reference to the actual laws associated with it. But we are capped at 4% of the total project cost. And so our portion of that comes out right now to 59.5. And so I don't have the authorization to just approve 59.5. I have to bring it to the commission. And so on the 27th of June, you will see this on the agenda that basically, hey, this is what they're projecting right now. They're not going to know that final 59.5 until they open the bid. And if they don't open the bid till 2024, that 59.5 might be more than, because it's going to be based on 4% of the total project cost. And so I have to sign an agreement, this memorandum of agreement with the SCDOT and the county. It basically comes down to, if we don't relocate our line, SCDOT has the right to remove our utilities from the right-of-way. And the only way around that is to buy easements outside of the right-of-way. And that's a very costly proposition, and then we have to relocate anyway into the easement. I give you in Mount Pleasant Waterworks, this happened to them on 17 with the road widening project, and they actually took them years to purchase 6 miles of easements down 17 and then relocate their utilities in that 6 miles of easements. And you can imagine that's thousands of easements that they had to obtain, and it was a multi-year project to do that. So really, in this case, there is no option to do that. And so the memorandum of agreement, you will see on the 27th of June. And I got a dissertation from Bob George and Mr. Hoffman about basically kind of how it is. And so I got Tim to look at the memorandum of agreement, and so that's kind of what it is, and you will then see that in fiscal year 24 appropriation. You'll see 59.5, probably with some contingency in there, because we're at the plan to spend that money.
This surprised me because when this project first came up, my first concern was our pipe. And I was told that we would be okay, and we wouldn't have to move. So what changed, the intersection plan, or I don't know what changed?
Well, number one, all the costs, it takes them 5 years to do a project. And so now all these bids are coming back, and since when they started the project, and now the law has changed, which capped it at 4%. Otherwise, basically, SCDOT would come to us and say, here's the project, move your utility, and we're on the hook for it.
Well, I thought we were okay with them. I asked them, and they said that we were okay, we didn't have to do them.
Well, as the project progressed, and they find other utilities in the ground and other things that they have to work around, that moves the traffic circle over. So actually, we don't have that much there. We got one force main and a manhole there.
It's not going to be a circle over there.
No, I mean, the biggest problem that comes along with these projects is putting drainage in. Drainage is what makes us move everything. So every time they put in a traffic circle, they put in curb and gutter, they have to put in drainage, and that impacts our line.
So, was this mean another rate increase to pay for this? We got that already done?
So, you know, this is gonna be incorporated into the fiscal year 24 budget. This is an item that we're gonna have to put in there and say, okay, this is obviously not a planned expense. The initial memorandum of agreement did not have cost. Now it's cost. So we're gonna have to adjust the appropriation accordingly.
This will be coming up at our next budget.
Right, just the memorandum of agreement. The commission needs to authorize my execution of the document, basically to move forward.
So do we need a motion to move this to the board?
That could be a recommendation from the wastewater committee to, you know, recommend the approval to the full committee.
So this is for the agreement we need to sign.
For me to sign,
But 59,000 could be 85,000 or more, possibly.
and believe me, I asked him, can they do this? Like, how can they do, like, this didn't make any sense to me. And so the answer is yes, they can do that. And you're not gonna know what the cost is until they open the bid in fiscal year 24. And they view this as basically a formality that, you know, CWS has to sign the same thing. You know, they gotta work with their water pipes as well. In addition to sewer, in addition to broadband, in addition to gas or electrical or whatever's there,
So it's 4% of the total funding.
total project. And then we share with the county, and you see in there, in that agreement, the county states, now this is page 3, the estimate for the original construction bid would be $2,250,000. So $2,250,000, and that makes it $104,500. The county is to share $45,000. The district's to share $59,500. That's based on that total project cost, and that's just kind of like arithmetic out of the $2,250,000.
You all have any other questions?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we vote to move this forward to the full commission.
Oh, I see. You have a second. You will put to the committee. The committee, you don't.
Roll call?
You can, if you vote on it, committee members and move it, recommend it to go to the commission, then basically at the commission meeting, somebody will still have to move the, you don't need a second, then basically at the full commission meeting, if you vote to move it on.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah, we take it to the, we can discuss it more. We
Right,
can discuss it more
but-
at the, full commission.
okay, so yes, that will be, on the tag of stuff. You don't need a roll call.
You can though, you can have a roll call vote of the committee right now if you want to recommend
Yeah,
it
well,
to the
since
commission.
the three of us, I mean,
It's up to you.
I can think of it, yeah, I think I remember some other things that I've been on. Okay, so out of the three of us, you want to have a roll call, so I said I seconded. No, she and I already seconded, and again, we didn't need to, and we'd already said, so that's why I said, we don't need to do roll call and all that. We'd already said this is going to be on the agenda, so, anyway, moving forward, so we need, we are on, number 5, so the recommendation, okay, and then, so number 6, update on, million,
No,
with
with
the
the pool adjustment. So in your packet, you have a 2-page synopsis of the staff recommendations to not implement pool adjustments. And so Commissioner Milliken asked for recommendations from district staff associated with reviewing pool adjustments. So your meeting packet also contains references to the district wastewater collection system use and rate resolution number 2203. as well as reference to the county stormwater management plan. And the language in the district resolution is aligned with the county stormwater management plan, which means there are environmental and water quality issues and concerns with not encouraging pool owners to drain the pool down the public sewer. So our reference in there and what's stated on here, it shall be unlawful to discharge into any water course or receiving streams within the JIPSD or in any area under jurisdiction of the JIPSD, any sewage or other prohibited or regulated liquid waste except where suitable treatment has been provided in accordance with subsequent provisions of the resolution and FCBHEC. It is permitted to drain a pool, spa, filter, backwash, and pool wastewater into the facility's sewer lateral. And so that is what is in the wastewater resolution, because that's what aligns with the county stormwater management plan. So chlorine and backflush water from swimming pool discharges are listed as pollutants in the Charleston County Stormwater Management Plan. The plan recommends educational kiosks at retail outlets selling pool chemicals, as well as change in local plumbing code to require discharge to sanitary sewer systems. So there's a very high water table on James Island, and we need to encourage pool owners to bring their pool water into the sewer system to prevent discharge into the stormwater system for local waters and marshes. And so that's why basically the staff recommendation, we don't want to mimic what CWS does as far as a pool adjustment once every 5 years.
Okay, yes, Ms. Bernthal, you have a question?
We have that, but this is kind of jurisdiction about pool. I've been here for 25 years, I don't know now, but anything about us pulling with anybody's pool. So, I go along with the staff, pool is individuals with about.
Thank you.
Any of us?
Oh, yes, Ms. Wilson,
Is
yes.
that okay?
Oh, yes, well, yes, and this is our committee's report, yes.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, I didn't ask for staff recommendation, I asked for information from staff, and I also wanted to understand CWS's policy, but I guess the camera who I see here tonight has mentioned is different from ours. And I mean, it's my feeling, and Tim can correct this, but we can make a recommendation as a commission on whatever we want to do on this. Once we know and understand what CWS's policy is, but I don't even know what CWS does.
It's all they have on their website is once every 5 years. It's under frequently asked questions.
Okay, so once every 5 years, what the pool under, yeah.
The pool owner does not get charged for the sewer charge, they only get charged for the water, once every 5 years.
Well, I mean, I would certainly, like for the commission to take that up and consider it in a meeting. I mean, I don't know that we need any kind of recommendation out of wastewater committee, but I don't know how many pools we have in the town of St. John or in the PSC district. We have, what, 6,000 customers? Somebody, Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
6,000? You know how many swimming pools we have at all?
No,
Okay, no idea?
no,
Okay. I mean, I'm just thinking, why not match the city's
And
policy?
so, what are you asking that, and you're saying it would be nice to have something on the,
Well, I'm not on wastewater committee.
No,
and
yeah,
and I don't think you all need to make a recommendation of any kind out of wastewater committee. But personally, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to take this up at a regular meeting. Just in terms of why would we not match CWS's one time every 5 year?
That's what I tried to explain with the county
But
stormwater
the city's
management.
under strict, even stricter stormwater regulations. I mean, the city has changed their stormwater regulations to be more strict than the county. You watch that process go through.
Right, and so I guess that we want to continue to encourage the pool owners to drain the pool into the sewage.
I don't, where is the
So
evidence.
sorry, but we cannot have people making some of these flashing noises.
I'm just wondering where the evidence is of the city's policy is flushing, means that people are flushing water into the system, or sometimes they would, or doing something irregular. I mean, surely
So there-
CWS wouldn't have a policy that would, mean that pollutants would go into our water, or waterway.
And so I don't control the CWS policy.
Right.
You know, we haven't done pool adjustments. You know, this is not a new concept. And so I'm basically just going down as far as, you know, the pool adjustments kind of fly in the face of the county's regulations for stormwater. And so we don't want to put something in our resolution that contradicts what the county's trying to accomplish with education, at the kiosk where they sell pool chemicals, as well as changes to the plumbing code that a pool drain to the sewer. That's, you know, what they recommend the plumbing code of all of the, municipalities in.
Oh, yes, please.
I'd like to point out some facts. Yeah. First of all, but well, the city owns the treatment plant. We don't have a treatment plant. They charge us a rate, and we pay. The city also has higher fees on their wastewater than we do. We're one of the lowest in the county. So they can control that. We cannot. They own the store and they get their goods for free. We have to pay. And we have no choice because we don't own the sewage treatment. Another thing is, I feel like if you are wealthy enough to own a pool, then you should be able to pay these fees. And we would have to, if we started, if there's hundreds of pools and we start giving people discounts, where are we going to make up that money? Also, these people have the option of getting a tanker truck, they can get a yard well, and other things. Also, I'm not really clear, when they give that one-time thing every 5 years, how does that come over on our bill? Have we figured that out?
Yeah, all we get adjusted for, is a leak adjustment. There's a process that, CWS customers have to go through as far as if they can, you know, prove a leak. We get adjusted based on that, but we don't get adjusted, from CWS's information based on food.
You know, but because you brought up the, don't we sometimes give people a break when, I know Meredith, you talked about a week that you have. I don't know if you got charged for all that wastewater, but don't we sometimes give customers a break when they have a leak that they don't know about? I mean, that would be a reduction of where.
If it's a certain type of, if there is a certain reason behind it, then yeah, I mean, the J Pilot PSB is very forgiving and does a lot, and I understand that people have pools and then their income changes, if anyone can understand, I certainly understand that, but no, if you have a pool, you can build in, and we have to do certain things for our fees. So people were not actually being feed, like they were not getting any sort of this sort of, what is it? 2011, I think is when people were actually starting to get taxed more and like, yeah, like different ones, and it was also the JIPSC, there was also the rate, but yeah, I mean, it's been like the city, the county, and the PSC, where it's like, okay, some of this is being held back, and it started again.
And I was a participant on your agenda tonight, but I wonder what our policy is for unknown leaks. And what is our wastewater policy when someone gets a huge bill and has an unknown leak? Do we forgive some, not forgive others, or do we have a policy?
So all of them, that would be one, okay? So they go through, all of our data is based on the CWS water rate. And so when CWS, all of the JITSD customers are also water customers of CWS. And so they have a process that the CWS customers have to go to CWS as far as a leak adjustment, and CWS has a leak adjustment. They then work with us on our import data, and it's often behind, because somebody gets a bill, right? And then they have to go through a process to get the leak adjusted by CWS.
And do we do a rebate?
Well, we have to adjust based on that. If CWS approves the leak adjustment, but that is, a one-off scenario.
And that's why I was saying, there was some strange thing, because, everyone knows how it is. Corner of Timber and Frog, there was something strange that happened, so the piping burst, and I don't remember, my husband does. So, yes, it was like 700 a month because of crazy leakage, and because, CWS, and then PSC also, refunded part of it, because it was something that was not our fault. And it wasn't something that we just didn't recognize. It was it was something that major happened.
I did some math work about evaporating pools. Average humidity and temperature climate pools evaporate about 2 inches of water per week. If you've got the average 17 to 20,000 gallon pool, if you wanted to let it evaporate, it would take about 6 months. That's if you get no rain. And I can tell you in Charleston, we get 51 inches a year. And I seriously doubt anybody can get a pool that can get it evaporate. And I've actually had a case in my neighborhood where somebody, I don't know because they were old or something, they just abandoned their pool and did nothing with it. And the neighbors on all sides would look up there upstairs and look into the pool and said that it was full of algae, scum. They were really complaining about the mosquitoes. They wouldn't pump it out and they wouldn't fill it in. And this went on for several years in my neighborhood. So I know a pool will not evaporate completely empty around here, and it would be full of mosquitoes and scum and weeds and all that garbage. So I really don't believe any story somebody tells me that the pool evaporates out. I would have to see more proof on that. And I really think as an environmentalist, and I'm working very hard on the clean things on too, I don't want to see people dumping it into the street and not putting it in the sewer around it. That's where it belongs. It needs to be treated. It's got chemicals in it, and that's just what we need to do. I've only been on this commission, 67 years. This is the first time I've had anybody complain about it.
I was going to ask, at this time, you've been on the commission, no one has ever come and asked for an adjustment for a pool?
No, never. Now, said she.
I've been here 25 years, never heard the word.
And as you know, I know, so before I was on commission, this is my 4th year, but I was a reporter, never heard anyone, my parents had a pool, and they were, one of the right off the road, and they had a very large pool. And I lived next door to a woman who was the exact same age, and I was actually down the street from Maryland. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to thank the city for allowing, she was the only one, but because I do feel strongly that when a constituent has an issue and wants to listen to someone and wants answers, that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
And
I totally
everybody to be added to the agenda.
Well, and yes, and I would really like if people would come to our actual commission meeting in a couple of weeks, and they can speak, because things change, and you don't know where you are when you have a pool. Things can get different, obviously, as you have found out.
That's Franny knows all the people. Real quick.
Oh, that she knows real good. Yes, Ms. Brownhouse. Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, thank you. Okay. And so, yes. So, all right, so the updating, this is the earmark.
Right there.
Earmark?
So we got this is an update on the $1 million earmark justification. This is in the state budget. So I received a text from Kyle Michelle last Friday evening. It was the 10th of June with good news. So the $1 million in the budget right now is in the conference report that will be voted on by both the House and the Senate this Wednesday, the 15th of June. And so the governor has 5 days, not including Sunday, so really he has 6 days to issue vetoes based on that earmarking. He can line item, veto. So theoretically, we should know by next Tuesday, the 21st of June, if the governor is going to veto the inclusion of that $1 million earmark in the state budget. So I should be able to provide a much better update by the regular meeting on Monday, the 27th of June, in a couple of weeks. So your packet contains the earmark justification package submitted by Representative Wetmore to the governor, and she was very pleased with the package that was submitted. So basically, in there, you have the justification requirements from the governor, and then you have our response dated the 25th of May, 2022. So you have the letters of support in there. We could show that this isn't just the district. We have several other entities, the county, the city, the town, that are all helping to support this project.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, so we are going to number 7, the update on the grant application for SDG.
All right, so the last 3, 7, 8, and 9 on the agenda are all related. So we were able to get Charleston Waterkeeper to financially contribute $100 towards the Oak Point sewer expansion project. We got the town of James Island contributing $320,000. CWS is financially contributing $160,000, and the district is financially contributing $10,000. And so this would be the start of the first proposed multi-jurisdictional sewer expansion project to remove septic tank systems on Oak Point Drive. So the whole package in SCGHEC was 121 pages. I spared you that in the packet. The largest chunk of that is the Terracon report, the Watershed Management Plan that was approved by DHEC last summer. So I provided you with the updated narrative based on the differences between the initial proposal. The initial proposal was Oak Point, up the hill, Julian Clark, and then we had to scale that down to Oak Point. So that's why I provided that to you, so you understand what was submitted to DHEC. We received confirmation from DHEC that they have received everything required in the application, and we will know by the end of July if we have been awarded the $250,000 to move forward with this project. So theoretically, we would be awarded the money in August if we get the $250,000. So much more information on that to come. So,
Okay, does our lobbyist feel confident with the governor's letter? Yeah.
So Kyle Michelle is confident that so there's a process, right? After the House and Senate approve, goes to the governor could veto. Even if the governor vetoes, he believes there's enough votes to override the veto to go back, because this is a well-supported project. So hopefully we'll have to do that. Hopefully the veto doesn't have to get overridden, and the governor signs off on it. But there's a process if he does. Yes.
All right, are there any other questions from anyone not on the committee who maybe have any questions?
Do we know the future of Park Sewer at this point?
Excellent question, which takes me right into number 8 for ARPA funding. So ARPA funding, we have an upcoming webinar for the ARPA funding Wednesday, the 29th of June at 10 a.m. for the latest and greatest from RIA. So RIA has known they're gonna get this huge chunk of money, this $900 million. They've been trying to hire staff and kind of instruct the aircraft while in flight to put the regulations together. So they have promised to give us direction. And so ARPA will really be, we'll be trying to split the difference on the whole package as far as Julian Clark, up the hill, Oak Point Road. We're hopeful to get the $250,000 from SCGHEC. We're hopeful to get $1 million from the state budget directly. And that would be positive on multiple levels because that is not federal money and that can count towards local match. And so if we got the $250 from the state, $1 million, that puts us much closer to fill that gap between ARPA funding and the local match requirement. And that's what we're trying to learn more about the 29th of June to say, okay, what are the parameters we're working with? Because they really haven't come out with that. And that's what we need to understand. What are these regulations going to be? The word on the street in Columbia is that in July they're going to open up this application package. Well, they have to have all these, regulations as far as how they're going to have the ARPA money, so we can understand how our projects align with that. And that kind of takes me to the last one, and you see in your packet a resolution and a request to the USDA. And this was again, I'm learning a lot in South Carolina law. And you will see in there, basically, that resolution is a combined effort between Lawrence Flynn, Tim, and Chip to be able to ask the USDA, hey, we don't want to just do Artillery Point. We want to do Artillery Point, Julian Clark, Up the Hill Road, and Oak Point.
Go beyond the Queen Creek one.
We are, if we're going to go to USDA and ask USDA, let's do it all at once. It is a multi-jurisdictional sewer expansion project. We're not going to be losing customers. However, at one point, all of the customers were that of JIPSD. So we're asking, and it's the last page of that resolution, is Exhibit B. That is the consent and approval of the USDA rural development. So we are indebted to the federal government from 1992 and 1996. And because we're indebted to them, we are restricted from curtailing our service territory. And we want the USDA to sign off that we are not curtailing our service territory because Artillery Point, we want to work with the city to be able to get these people sewer. They annexed into the city in 1998, basically under the promise, okay, we're going to get you services. They still don't have services. So when we were indebted to the federal government, that was still our service territory. So we have to say to the we have to get the blessing from the USDA that this is okay. We're not reducing our service territory. This is how we're trying to work because all of those Julian Clark, Up the Hill, Oak Point, Oak Point is 15 properties, 10 of which are JIPSD, 5 are CWS. And it's reverse, and Up the Hill, there's more CWS than JIPSD. And in Julian Clark, it's the vast majority JIPSD, but there are city properties scattered within. So we want them to be able to bless, hey, these are the communities we're trying to steward together, so please sign off on this. And Lawrence Flynn, every Thursday, tries to follow up with USDA to say, please sign this. Please sign this, please sign this. So, what?
Remind me, where did I hear that from before? Was it the public service on here?
Right. And so what we're trying to do is be able to present to you on the 27th of June and say, hey, this is the resolution that USDA has blessed, okay? Or we might have to come to you if they don't sign it by then, that we are going to pass this resolution in with the caveat that we're still waiting for the USDA approval. We've had conversations with the USDA, our field rep. They kind of gave us the framework of how this works and an example outside of the low countries of how this was done. We then used that framework to craft together with bond counsel and our legal team to say, okay, this is what we want to ask from USDA. So.
Ask a question. Go for it.
Yes, actually, I mean, normally, yes, but I will.
Also, I want to give y'all a round of applause. I mean, this is, so, from the last time that this was brought up several years ago, y'all come so far. The whole septic tank transitioning and cleaning up things on the roofs. So excited. But I was, and maybe you already said this, Dave, but since the state first permitted this, and then back in 2012, Nikki Haley appointed Catherine Templeton to cut a bunch of the staff, and then we had quit regulating septic tanks. They kind of, in my mind, created the problem that the James Island PSP, are they contributing financially at all to this?
State, you mean?
Yes, the state contributing, VHAG and the state contributing to this project and this,
Keep your fingers crossed, because that is $1 million. They're trying to give us $1 million out of the state budget. And so we hired a lobbyist to go to Columbia and get me and him in front of the decision makers and say, please include this in the House and the Senate budget, because this is very important. Then we're trying to get money from VHAG through that 2019 grant to be able to get money directly associated with cleaning up the septic tank. So we're not getting the full amount, but we're getting contributions from the town, from CWS, from Waterkeeper, to be able to collectively try to address it. Why it hasn't been addressed is, it's complex. And so I've learned a lot from Tim and Chip and bond counsel to understand, okay, this is what we got to get together to kind of move forward. And I don't have baggage with CWS or the town or the city. We're all trying to work to be able to, like, the eye on the prize is, at the end of the day, we want to remove septic tanks, get more people access to the sewer. So we're cobbling together funding from as many different places as we possibly can, and we are trying to work with the stakeholders, because at the end of the day, it's not the PSD that is responsible for the watershed, but we're the most adept at actually addressing it, the issue.
And yeah, and thank you, and Franny, yeah, usually, especially to me, as but yeah, being in Mill State, I was like, this is a question, I think that, yeah, would be good for all of us, yeah, so well, thank you, Franny, because that was a learning.
I want to point out, those USDA loans we got many years ago, I believe were basically for the fire station. So we're not losing property tax. Isn't that right?
So it's both. So USDA RD back in 1980, we had a 40-year loan for fire station number 4. We just paid that bad boy off 40 years from 80 to 20. Made the last payments in 20 on that. We got the same thing for fire station number 3 from 96 to 2036. These are low interest loans through USDA RD in 92 and 96. There's also 40-year loans in 92 and 96 for the sewer infrastructure. So we did it both sewer and fire station. So that's what part of the confusion is. I went to Tim and I said, hey, these fire stations, we're talking about service territory, and Lauren said, no. You owe money to the USDA for sewer. So that's what you have to, the bond covenant are that you cannot curtail your service territory for sewer, so that's what you gotta ask the USDA for. So that kind of set us down that path. This has been months in the making, to try to figure this out.
Well, welcome to South Carolina.
I know.
Glad to be here. All right, are there any other questions? Others on the committee or any other commissioners or any other? All right, well then, all right, we're adjourned. Thank you all so much.